Harold, come quick. You won't believe what I just found under these creaky old stairs. Marion's voice danced through the dusty air of their new rural home, sharp and bright as a brass bell. She stood in the dim glow of a single bulb, her silver-streaked hair catching the light like a halo, hands trembling as she clutched a rusted trunk handle. Harold shuffled in, his lanky frame stooped from years, hunched over a desk at the insurance office. What now, Maury? Another spider nest? Told you this place was a fixer-upper, not a treasure chest. His gruff tone masked the spark in his hazel eyes. Retirement hadn't dulled his curiosity. Not yet. No, you old grump, look. She flung the lid open with a groan of hinges, revealing a jumble of yellowed envelopes and rolled-up maps, their edges curling like petals wilting in the sun. Letters. Maps. From a 1950s Herald. Who leaves something like this behind? He squinted, adjusting his bifocals. Probably some nut job who thought he'd strike gold in these hills. What's that say? He pointed a knobby finger at a letter scrawled in spidery ink. Marion snatched it up, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. To my dearest Clara, the cash is safe, hidden where the oak kisses the river bend. Tell no one. Gag. Harold, that sounds like treasure. Real treasure. Treasure? He snorted, but his lips twitched upward, more like a wild goose chase. You're not seriously thinking. Oh, I am thinking. We're doing this. She slapped the letter against his chest, her round face glowing with the kind of mischief he hadn't seen since their newlywed days. We've got nothing but time now, mister. Grab that map. Let's see where it takes us. By noon, they were knee-deep in the brambles along the river, a mile from their clapboard cottage. Marion, in her faded denim jacket and sensible boots, clutched the brittle map like a lifeline. Harold trailed behind, swatting at gnats with a rolled-up newspaper, his khakis already streaked with mud. This oak's got to be it, she said, pointing at a gnarled giant leaning over the water, its branches swaying like a dancer caught mid-twirl. See? Riverbend oak. Matches the letter. Harold wiped sweat from his brow, his thinning hair plastered to his scalp. Or it's just a tree, Maury. You're chasing shadows here. What if this Clara woman was just a lovesick fool? Then why'd she hide it so well? Marion shot back, her hazel eyes flashing. Look, there's a hollow. She dropped to her knees, heedless of the damp earth soaking her jeans, and peered into a knotty gap at the trunk's base. Harold, there's something in here. A box, metal, I think. No kidding. He knelt beside her, grunting as his joints protested. Together, they pried out a tin box, its lid etched with a faint heart scratched into the rust. Inside lay a locket, a key, and another note. This one shorter, ink faded to a ghostly whisper, justice for the stolen. The bank knows. Marion's breath hitched. Stolen? Harold, this isn't just treasure. This is a mystery. What bank? What got stolen? Beats me, he said, turning the key in his calloused fingers. But I'll bet you a week's worth of dishes it's tied to that old First Valley branch in town. Shut down in '58, right? My pop used to talk about some scandal, robbery or something. Her eyes widened, bright as twin moons. A robbery? And this Clara, she must have been in on it. Or we're trying to fix it. Harold, we got to dig deeper. Deeper. He groaned, but there was a lilt in his voice now, a flicker of the young man who'd once raced her across a frozen lake on a dare. You're going to turn us into detectives yet, woman. Days blurred into a whirlwind of small-town sleuthing. Marion charmed the librarian, Elsie, a wiry widow with a smoker's rasp, into digging up microfiche on the '53 bank heist. Harold, meanwhile, sweet-talked old man Pritchard at the hardware store, who remembered Clara as a firecracker with a temper and a secret. Clara done. Elsie rasped over coffee at their kitchen table, her bony fingers tapping the grainy photo of a woman with sharp cheekbones and defiant eyes. Tell her at First Valley. Folks said she vanished after the robbery. 10 grand gone, never found. Cops pinned it on her boyfriend, Jimmy Tate, but he swore he was framed. Marion leaned in, her floral mug forgotten. Framed? By who? And where'd the money go? Elsie shrugged. Dunno. Jimmy swung for it, hanged in 55? Claire was long gone by then. Some say she ran off with the cash. Others reckon she hid it to prove him innocent. Harold tapped the locket they'd found, its gold dulled by time. This was hers, wasn't it? And that key fit something at the bank. Could be, Elsie said, smirking. You two got a nose for trouble, don't ya? Trouble found them that night. They'd snuck into the abandoned First Valley building, now a crumbling shell of peeling paint and broken windows, using the key to unlock a rusted safe behind the teller counter. Inside, no cash, just a ledger, its pages brittle as autumn leaves, listing names and sums. Sheriff Tully, $500. Mayor Gaines, $2,000. Marion read aloud, her voice quaking. Harold, this is a payoff list. The town framed Jimmy. Before he could answer, headlights sliced through the dark and a gravelly voice barked. Who's in there? Sheriff Tully's grandson, current deputy, loomed in the doorway, his bulk filling the frame. Run, Harold hissed, grabbing her hand. They bolted through a back exit, ledger clutched tight, hearts pounding like war drums. The chase was short. Rural roads don't hide much, but it lit a fire in them both. By week's end, they'd turned the ledger over to the county paper. Headlines screamed, decades-old corruption unearthed. The deputy resigned in disgrace, and Clara's name was cleared. Her locket placed on Jimmy's overgrown grave as a quiet apology from a town too late to repent. Back home, Marion flopped onto their sagging couch, her laugh soft as a breeze. We did it, Harold. Solved it. Can you believe it? He sank beside her, a rare grin cracking his weathered face. Yeah, Marie. Guess we're not so washed up, huh? She nudged him, playful. Not even close. What's next, partner? Next, he chuckled, pulling her close. How about we find that 10 grand? Her laughter rang out, bright and wild, a sound to carry them into whatever came next. Remember when we thought 40 years at the office would kill us? Harold said, his voice gravelly as he unpacked a box of chipped mugs in their new kitchen. The rural cottage smelled of pine and mildew, a far cry from their old suburban split level. He stood tall but stiff, his once dark hair now a thinning gray crown, hands scarred from years of fiddling with car engines, a hobby he'd abandoned when the kids came along. Marion laughed, tugging at a strand of her silver-streaked bob as she shoved a stack of linens into a cupboard. Oh, I do. You come home griping about claims forms, and I'd be up to my elbows in PDA bake sales. Thought we'd never get out. Her round cheeks flushed pink, a spark in her hazel eyes hinting at the dreamer she'd been. Once a girl who'd sketched wildflowers and planned cross-country road trips, before life pinned her down with 3 kids and a mortgage. Out. Harold snorted, setting a mug down with a clink. We didn't get out, we got downsized. 40 years insuring other people's disasters. And what's my reward? A pat on the back and a pension that barely covers the propane bill. Don't be dramatic, she shot back, playful but firm. We sold that big house. Too many stairs, too many ghosts of soccer games and prom nights. This place, it's ours. No more neighbors banging on about lawn care. Just us and maybe a little peace. Peace. He raised a bushy brow, leaning against the counter. You've never done peace a day in your life, Mari. Remember 82? You dragged me to that folk festival in the rain, said it'd be an adventure. I caught pneumonia, and you loved every muddy minute. She swatted him with a dish towel, her laugh bubbling up like a creek after a storm. Admit it. You married me 'cause I kept you on your toes. Married you 'cause you wouldn't stop talking till I said yes, he grumbled, but his lips twitched. Back then, he'd been a quiet kid from a loud family, 6 siblings, all shouting over a single TV. Insurance was steady, safe. He'd craved that after a childhood of chaos. But Marion? She'd been his wild card, a florist daughter with a phobia of staying still and a dream of seeing the world. Thought we'd travel, you know. Greece, maybe. Not this. She paused, hands on her hips, her denim jacket streaked with dust. Greece will wait. We got time now. No more clocking in, no more carpools. The kids are grown, Harold. Jenny's got her twins. Mark's in Seattle. Lisa's off saving whales or whatever. We're free. Free to fix leaky roofs, he muttered, eyeing a water stain on the ceiling. Some dream, huh? Thought I'd golf? Fish, not chase your crazy hunches through the woods. My hunches? She grinned, sly as a fox. You're the one who wanted simple, mister. Said you were done with city noise, done with suits. Well, here we are, rural life, just like you ordered. Yeah, and look what it got us. A trunk full of someone else's mess. He waved a hand toward the stairs where the dusty discovery still sat, unopened until that morning. You always find trouble, Mari. Always. Trouble finds us, she corrected, stepping closer, her voice softening. And maybe it's what we need. We're not done yet, Harold. Not by a long shot. He met her gaze, the gruffness melting just a bit. Guess not. But if we're digging up the past, I'm blaming you when the sheriff comes knocking. Deal, she said, sealing it with a wink. A promise born from 40 years of bickering, building, and dreaming, now ready to bloom in the quiet of their midlife move. Harold, you hear that? Marion's voice cut through the dusk, sharp as a whip crack, as she stood on the porch clutching a steaming mug. The river's murmur mingled with a low rumble. Tires on gravel, too close for comfort. He poked his head out from the shed, a flashlight dangling from his hand, its beam jittery against the darkening yard. What now, Mari? Another treasure noise? Probably just raccoons. No, listen. She pointed toward the dirt road, snaking past their cottage. Headlights bobbed into view, harsh and uninvited, painting the oak trees in stark white slashes. That's a truck. Who'd come out here this late? Harold stepped beside her, squinting, his jaw tightening. Nobody good, that's who. After that ledger hit the paper, bet it's trouble. He flicked off the flashlight, instinct from years of locking doors against unseen threats. The truck rolled to a stop, dust swirling like a phantom in the glow. A man hopped out, wiry and leather-jacketed, his face shadowed under a ball cap. "Evenin', folks," he called, voice oily smooth. "Name's Ray Tate. Heard you stirred up some old dirt about my Uncle Jimmy." Marion's mug nearly slipped. Tate? As in, Jimmy Tate. She shot Harold a look, half thrill, half dread, her fingers tightening on the porcelain. Yup. Ray sauntered closer, boots crunching gravel, a grin glinting under the cap. "Word travels fast round here. You found Clara's stash, huh? Ledger and all." Harold stepped forward, broad shoulders squared despite the ache in his knees. "We turned it in. Cleared your uncle's name. What's it to you?" Ray's grin widened, but his eyes stayed cold, shards of ice in the twilight. "Oh, plenty. See, Uncle Jimmy didn't just take the fall. He left something behind. That 10 grand? Ain't in no bank vault. Clara hid it good, and I reckon you two know where. 10 grand. Marion's voice jumped, sharp and bright. "We didn't find any money, just papers. You think we're sitting on a fortune? Maybe you are, maybe you ain't." Ray shrugged, casual as a cat stalking prey. "But I'm here to make a deal. You help me find it, we split it, 50-50. Family justice, right?" Harold barked a laugh, short and rough. "Justice? Sounds more like blackmail. We don't even have it, kid. Go dig up your own ghosts." Ray's grin faded, replaced by a slow tilt of his head. "Ghosts, huh? Funny you say that. 'Cause I brought company." He whistled, and 2 more figures climbed from the truck, hulking shadows with crowbars dangling from their hands. Marion gasped, stepping back, her mug clattering to the porch boards. "Harold, they've got weapons. What do we do?" "Stay calm," he hissed, though his pulse thrummed like a freight train. "You, Ray, get off our land. We're done playing treasure hunters." "Done?" Ray chuckled, low and mean. "Nah, you're just starting. See, I've been tiling you since the bank. Watch you dodge my cousin Tully, the deputy. Yeah, he's kin too. Family don't like loose ends." "Loose ends." Marion's voice rose, fierce now, a mother bear roused. "We gave the truth back to this town. You think you can scare us? We've raised 3 kids tougher than you." Ray's eyes narrowed, glinting like a blade. "Tough don't mean smart, lady. That locket you left on Jimmy's grave? Had a notch. Fits a lockbox my pa swore Clara buried. I want it. Now." Harold's hand twitched toward the shed. His old toolbox held a wrench, maybe a chance, but Marion grabbed his arm. "Wait," she whispered, then turned to Ray, chin high. "The locket's gone. Left it for Jimmy, like we said. But there's a map. Back at the house. We'll show you. Mari, Harold started, but she squeezed his wrist hard. Trust me, she mouthed, then louder. Come inside, Ray. Let's talk this out. No crowbars needed. Ray hesitated, then waved his goons back. Fine, but no tricks, or this pretty little shack burns. Inside, the kitchen glowed warm under a flickering bulb. The trunk still sprawled open on the table. Marion rifled through it, her hands steady despite the sweat beading her brow. Here, she said, thrusting a crumpled map at Ray. See? Riverbend, Oak, where we found box. Nothing about a lockbox, though. Ray snatched it, his fingers smudging the ink. This all? You're holding out. I can smell it. She's not, Harold snapped, stepping closer, his voice a low growl. You've got what we've got. Take it and go. Ray's gaze flicked between them, calculating, then landed on the trunk. What's that? He yanked out a folded note, one they'd missed, tucked under a flap, ink faint but legible. Lockbox at Mill Ruins. Forgive me, Jay. Mill Ruins? Ray's eyes lit up, wild as a struck match. That's it. You're coming with me now. No way. Marion shot back, planting herself between him and Harold. When not you mules. You got the note, go. Ray smirked, tapping the paper against his palm. Oh, you're coming. 'Cause if I don't find that cash, I'm back with more than crowbars. Think your kid's like a visit. Harold's fists clenched, his voice a rumble. Threaten my family, boy, and you'll wish you hadn't. Try me, Ray said, stepping back, note in hand. Mill Ruins, midnight. Be there, or I will. The door slammed behind him, truck roaring off into the night. Marion slumped against Harold, her breath ragged. What have we done, Harold? This is an adventure. This is a nightmare. He pulled her close, his gruffness softening. We'll fix it, Mari. But we're not waiting till midnight. We get to that mill first, or we're done for. Her eyes met his, wide and fierce. Then let's move. Now. The mill ruins loomed ahead, a skeleton of splintered beams and crumbling stone clawing at the moonlit sky. The air hung thick with damp rot and the river's restless hum, a chorus to the pounding in Marion's chest. She gripped Harold's arm as they crouched behind a moss-slick wall, the flashlight trembling in his hand like a trapped firefly. Harold, look there, she whispered, her breath a puff of frost in the March chill. Headlights sliced through the dark, Ray's truck grinding to a halt yards away. Shadows spilled out, Ray and his goons, crowbars glinting like fangs under the moon. Damn it, Mari, we're too late. Harold's voice rasped, low and jagged, his hazel eyes darting between the ruins and her pale face. We should have called the cops. Rushed in like fools instead. No time for regrets, she hissed back, her silver hair wild in the wind, a storm cloud unraveling. We've got the notes, edge, mill ruins, northwest corner. They don't know where yet. We can still beat him. Beat him. He snorted, but it cracked into a shaky laugh. You're crazy, woman. Always have been. And you love it, she shot back, a spark flaring in her hazel eyes, defiant, alive. Come on. They darted through the shadows, boots crunching on gravel and broken glass. The ruins a maze of jagged teeth and yawning gaps. Marion's heart thundered, a drumbeat of fear and thrill, her denim jacket snagging on a rusted nail. Harold stumbled behind, grunting as his knee twinged, but his grip on her hand was iron. 40 years of holding on. There, she gasped, pointing at a crumbled corner where the mill's foundation sank into the earth, a hollow, gaping like a wound. Northwest. Has to be. Ray's voice boomed closer, sharp as a gunshot. Spread out, boys. They're here. I feel it. His silhouette loomed, a vulture circling carrion, the crowbars swinging in rhythm with his steps. Harold dropped to his knees, clawing at the dirt with bare hands, mud streaking his khakis like war paint. Mari, help me. Look for a box, anything. His breath heaved, ragged and raw, the flashlight beam jerking wildly. She plunged in beside him, nails splitting as she dug, earth cold and unyielding under her fingers. It's here, Harold. It has to be. Clara wouldn't lie. Not to Jimmy. Her voice broke, a sob swallowed by the wind howling through the beams that a glint, metal buried deep. Got it. Harold yanked, muscles straining, and a small lockbox tore free, its lid crusted with rust and secrets. The locket's notch fit the lock like a lover's embrace. Click, and it sprang open. Inside, stacks of faded bills, a photo of Clara and Jimmy, and a scrawled plea. For our son, clear his name. Son. Marion's whisper trembled, fragile as glass. Raise their son. Before Harold could answer, a shadow fell. Ray. Crowbar raised, eyes blazing like twin infernos. Found it, huh? Hand it over, old man, or I crack your skull. Harold surged up, shoving Marion behind him. The lockbox clutched tight. Back off, kid. This ain't yours. It's blood money. And you're drowning in it. Drowning? Ray's laugh was a snarl, bitter and broken. My ma died running from this town. My pa hanged for it. That cash is mine. My birthright. Your birthright's a lie. Marion cried, stepping out, her voice a whip of fury and grief. Clara hid this to save Jimmy, to prove he was innocent. You're spitting on her sacrifice. Ray froze, the crowbar quivering midair, his face twisting. Raged out, a boy's lost howl beneath the man's mask. Innocent? Then why'd she leave me? Why'd I grow up with nothing but whispers? She didn't leave you, Harold said, softer now, the lockbox heavy in his hands. She hid this for you, to fix it all. But you're breaking it worse. A beat, silence, thick as tar, broken only by the river's mournful song. Ray's arm dropped, the crowbar clanging to the ground, a defeated echo. For me, his voice cracked, a fissure-splitting stone. Then why's it hurt so damn much? Marion stepped closer, tears streaking her dirt-smudged cheeks, her hand outstretched. Cause truth cuts, Ray, but it heals too. Take it. Read her words. Let it go. He stared, chest heaving, then snatched the photo and note from the box, eyes devouring the ink. His goons shifted, uncertain, but he waved them off, a king abdicating his throne. Get out, he muttered, voice hoarse. Take the cash. I can't. The truck roared away, leaving dust and silence. Harold sank against the wall, the lockbox thudding to the earth, his breath a shudder. Mari, we did it. We're alive. She knelt beside him, laughter and sobs tangling in her throat, her hand finding his. More than alive, Harold. We're us again. The moon watched, a quiet witness, as the ruins cradled their triumph. A fragile, fierce thing forged in the fire of that night. The mill ruins stood silent now, the moon a pale lantern casting jagged shadows over the damp earth. Marion clutched Harold's arm, her breath still hitching, the lockbox lying open between them like a confession spilled in the dirt. The cash, 10 grand in brittle stacks, glowed faintly, a ghost of greed finally laid bare. Harold, what do we do with it? She whispered, her voice raw, trembling like a leaf caught in the wind. Ray's gone, but it's still here. He wiped mud from his brow, his gruff laugh a rumble against the stillness. Do with it? Hell, Mari, we're not keeping it. This ain't our fight anymore. He scooped the bills into the box, slamming the lid shut with a clang that echoed off the broken beams. Then what? She leaned closer, hazel eyes wide and fierce, searching his weathered face. Burn it? Bury it? We can't just walk away. Why not? He stood, joints creaking, and hauled her up with him, his grip steady as oak. We cleared Jimmy's name, Clara's too. Ray's got his truth, ugly as it is. This cash, it's poison. Let's end it. And how? Her voice sharpened, a spark flaring. You mean the river? Yup. He nodded toward the dark ribbon of water snaking past the ruins, its surface glinting like a thief's promise. Dump it. Let it sink. Wash this whole mess clean. She hesitated, then a grin broke through, wild and bright as dawn. Oh, Harold, you old romantic. Drowning the past. Poetic, huh? Call it practical, he shot back, smirking, but his eyes softened, crinkling at the edges. Come on, partner, let's finish this. Together, they hefted the lockbox, its weight a final burden and staggered to the riverbank. The current churned, hungry and swift, whispering secrets it had kept for decades. On three, Marion asked, her laugh shaky but sure. Three. Harold barked, and they swung, once, twice, then let it fly. The box arced, a dark comet against the moon, and hit the water with a splash that swallowed it whole. Ripples raced outward, then stilled, the river claiming its prize. Gone, she breathed, leaning into him, her silver hair brushing his cheek. All of it gone. Good riddance, he muttered, wrapping an arm around her, his voice thick. No more chasing ghosts, Mari. We're done. Done. She pulled back, eyes dancing. Oh no, mister, we're just starting. Think of it, us free. No more crowbars or crooked deputies. What's next? He chuckled, deep and warm, the sound rolling like thunder over the hills. Next, home, woman. Hot coffee, that lumpy couch, and maybe a nap. I'm too old for this hero stuff. Hero stuff? She nudged him, playful, her laughter ringing clear. You loved every second, Harold. Admit it. Fine, he grumbled, pulling her close as they turned from the river, the ruins fading behind them. Maybe I did, but only 'cause it was with you. The night stretched wide, crisp and quiet, as they trudged back to the cottage. Hand in hand, lighter now, the weight of the past sunk deep where it belonged. No loose ends, no shadows left to haunt. Just them, whole and unbroken, ready for whatever dawn would bring. So that's it, huh? Marion said, flopping onto their sagging couch, the cottage walls glowing soft in the lamplight. Her denim jacket hung muddy on a hook, a badge of their wild ride. Trunk maps, a bank heist, straight to tossing 10 grand in the river. Harold sank beside her, a mug of coffee steaming in his hands, his grin crooked but real. Yup, started with downsizing, ended with digging up a town's dirty laundry. Clara's secret, Jimmy's frame-up, Ray's mess too. We flip it all, Mari. Flipped it. She laughed, sharp and bright, kicking off her boots. We lived it, Harold. Chased clues, dodged crowbars, cleared names. Heck, we even outsmarted that punk Ray. And drowned the cash, he added, sipping slow, his voice a low rumble. No fortune, just justice. That's what it was about, right? Setting things straight. Damn right. She leaned into him, her silver hair brushing his shoulder. We moved here for quiet, but found adventure. And us again. Worth it. He squeezed her hand, eyes crinkling. Every muddy step, woman. The room settled, warm and still, their laughter fading into a shared, steady breath. A new chapter carved from the chaos, proving some treasures aren't gold, but the fight to make things right.